Today I'm going to read something from my book, A Year in Words, and it is one of 5 essays that I wrote that chronicled my unillustrious career as a Cub Scout. This one is titled, "The Hell Is That?" At the time I thought, why not give it a try? After all, I was just a kid with limited social life and only a few extracurricular activities at my disposal at my Catholic elementary school. Besides, my best friend Mike was going to do it, and the meetings were being held at another friend's house. His name was also Mike, but we called him Hank. His mom was the den mother. We were part of Pack 43, if you're wondering, which I doubt you were, but now you know. Anyway, about 6 months into our tour of duty, the men of the Fightin' 43rd were called upon for a special project. Over a series of 3 meetings, our charge was to design and build a lamp using the following: a large coffee can, the guts of an old light fixture, and various paints, beads, and other decorative items that would bring this whole thing to life, enough to make anyone say, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for to accessorize the end table in my rumpus room. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of rumpus room talk going on in the early 1970s. Now, I'll admit that building a coffee can lamp didn't exactly provide the adventure and intrigue I expected from the Cub Scout experience. As a group, we had visions of hiking, canoeing, camping, fighting off bobcats and bears in the wild as we hunted and fished for our dinner, returning to camp to cook our glorious catch over the fire we had built with 2 sticks. But when your number's called, you don't question the mission. You simply take it on with a fire in your belly and a gleam in your eye, something like that. Which brings us back to the lamps. Now, let's be honest. We weren't actually building these lamps. There was no electrical work to be done, no stripping of wires or attaching of components. Rather, we were cobbling something together, more of a repair project than a design and build thing. Who knows, maybe people had lamp emergencies all the time that required the quick thinking, creativity, and dexterity of a Cub Scout. Guy on the street, "Hey buddy, I'm in a real pickle here, I need some help." Cub Scout, who's in the process of helping an old woman across the street. "Just one moment, ma'am, I must help this gentleman. I'll be back to assist you momentarily." Guy on the street, "I got this lamp that fell off the moving truck. I think the light part still works, but the bulb is missing. The shade got crushed and the base is a mess. Any ideas?" Cub Scout, "Citizen, today is your lucky day, for I am a Cub Scout and I have just the solution. Let me assist this elderly woman across the street and I shall return to help you straight away. Meanwhile, please find a large empty coffee can. Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me?" Of course, it wasn't that dramatic. Fact is, the best part was seeing how quickly my folks could hammer down all that coffee just so I could have a can of sufficient size to withstand the height and weight of the fixture we were about to jam through a hole in the plastic lid. Anyway, I'll spare you the details of cutting the hole in the lid, working with Hank's dad to string the cord through the bottom of the can, and finally decorating the base with felt and construction paper. And the lamp didn't even have a shade, but face it, when you're under the gun in a lamp emergency, you can't worry about style. This is the Cub Scouts, damn it, and that means we go for results. And that ain't always pretty, fella. Okay, so I didn't spare you all the details, but let's fast forward. After completing our lamps, I transported mine home on my purple Stingray, which is no easy task and probably should have been worthy of a merit badge right there. While the lamp wasn't heavy, I knew from the first few pedal strokes that I had a tiger by the tail. The thing was bulky and unwieldy, with the cord hanging precariously close to the bike chain, the fixture violently twisting and wiggling through the plastic lid. At one point, it felt like the whole operation might fall apart right there on 4th Street. But I made it. A soldier returning home, victorious, with a trophy for my parents. One they would not only cherish for years to come, but one that would provide valuable light whenever and wherever they needed it. But more than that, it would remind them that their son, this young, tow-headed 9-year-old, was forming the life skills he'd need to be a leader from this point forward. I walked into the house and proudly placed the lamp on the kitchen table, loosening my yellow scarf in much the way a businessman might loosen his tie upon arriving home after a difficult but gratifying day at the office. I stood there and I waited for the awestruck gasp, followed by certain accolades. Both my parents were home. Dad was eating. He often got home after the rest of the family had finished dinner, and Mom was working on a jigsaw puzzle in the dining room. It was a time of breathless anticipation, and I couldn't wait to watch them discuss, even argue, where to put the lamp. Dad, it's settled. We'll put it on the end table next to my easy chair. Mom, oh, no, you don't, Donald Haznaw. I want it next to my bed so I can read by the light of the lamp that my son, my Cub Scout, made for me. Well, if I had waited for this conversation to take place, I'd still be standing in the kitchen, a 50-something-year-old man wearing a yellow scarf, an itchy blue Cub Scout shirt, and off-colored synthetic jeans with bike grease around the right ankle. Instead, Mom said something like, "Oh, that's nice," as she snapped a piece into the guts of her puzzle. Dad simply looked up with an expression that said something like, and I'm paraphrasing his thoughts here, "The hell is that?" By the way, that was nothing like the reaction when I brought home a clay ashtray I had made for him in kindergarten. And yes, back then they let you make ashtrays in kindergarten. He loved that thing. But this love affair would be short-lived because within minutes after displaying it proudly on the end table next to the easy chair, the very same table I thought would serve as home to my coffee can lamp, he knocked it to the ground and it broke. Anyway, back to the lamp. After all was said and done, my folks did compromise on where the coffee can lamp should be placed, and that was anywhere I wanted, as long as visitors couldn't see it. This directive was never verbalized, mind you, but understood by all parties involved. Our family has a knack for nonverbal communication, and we had a lot of these silent, understood things going on. I've always appreciated and respected that. It's a real strength of the Haznaw clan. And whether they knew it or not at the time, my folks, without speaking a word, did me a huge favor by sparing me the ridicule of my siblings and the uncomfortable comments and looks by those dropping by and seeing this thing sitting in the living room. Because I'm sure all of them would have been asking the same question, in their heads anyway. The hell is that?